Hi, this is Parag Sam from Living and Working Abroad. For families in business, working overseas, relocating abroad, or investing offshore. Today's podcast is looking at healthcare options for retired expats and the effect of EU Brexit on those expats that are living and working abroad in the EU or other countries. The EU, as we said in our last webinar, it has a common set of standards to deal with, and the EU is a transnational organisation representing 27 countries. Now, that includes social and health service, so a UK expat living and working in the EU can have reciprocal healthcare and social insurance benefits over there. How does that affect retired people? If you're receiving a state pension and living in an EU country, a UK expat can transfer his healthcare to that country of residence. That might not be exactly the same care that they would get from the UK NHS, but it's the state healthcare in that countries. And obviously Northern European countries tend to have better health services than Southern and Eastern European countries. But this is a choice you make when you relocate overseas. If you're not retired, then you need to be working and paying social insurance in that EU country to then qualify under the rules of that country for social and healthcare benefits. The alternative for expats living in the UK, EU expats living in the UK, is that they if they have a job and they're contributing into the system, then they qualify for UK NHS treatment. Now, the point is that those EU expats living in the UK must be ordinarily resident in the UK. That means they must have a home and show that they're living there. They're either living with family, that they're working there, or they're invested and able to live there ordinarily from a day-to-day, whether it's on a short-term or long-term basis, that they are living in the UK. So somebody coming into the UK just to get a heart operation is not available on their home health system from the EU doesn't work. You have to be based in the UK. This has a big impact on UK expats living and working abroad. Now, there's 300 British expats living and working in Spain, and of those 300,000, 100,000 are retired expats. In the EU, there's a common agreement for reciprocal health and social welfare benefits. So all retired pensioners in Spain have their healthcare provided by the Spanish healthcare system on a reciprocal basis. When the UK leaves the EU, if there's no agreement between the UK as a third country and the EU's common social and healthcare policy, then the UK becomes a third country, and UK expats, for example, living in Spain, where there's no bilateral treaty, will no longer qualify for Spanish state care. Now, this is yet to be resolved. If there is no withdrawal treaty by the 29th of March, given that under EU law, Article 50, the exit notice, is irreversible. So if that goes ahead without a withdrawal treaty, then there's no transitional period. So this could come into effect as early as March the 29th next year. If there is a transitional treaty, then the current arrangements will remain in place until December 2020. However, there are some countries that the UK have got reciprocal agreements with, and those countries, such as Cyprus, a social and medical reciprocal agreement on a bilateral basis already exists. So we talked about the difference between a common and a reciprocal and a bilateral treaties in our last webinar. Go to our website at productpartnership.com and look for the Living and Working Abroad webinar for July there. a bilateral treaty is between two countries. So Cyprus and the UK have a bilateral treaty. So expats, retired expats living and working in Cyprus will continue to have reciprocal healthcare treatment after Brexit. So what are expats due to do? An EU expat, if they're legally living and working in the UK by the 29th of March next year, will be able to continue living there and attain settled status and qualify as ordinarily resident for NHS treatment in the UK. After that, they'll be treated as third country expats, and the rules are slightly different. Go to our blog at www.productpartnership.com to find out more. UK expats living and working in the EU need to understand, is there a bilateral treaty between their country of residence and the UK? If there isn't, and there's no withdrawal treaty, they could lose their state healthcare benefits as soon as March 2019. How will this affect you? So you need to bear this in mind and consider your options. Do you need to relocate to an EU country like Cyprus, which does have a bilateral health and social security agreement with the UK? Do you need to relocate back to the UK? The qualification period can be over 6 months. You need to find home and accommodation and make your life there. And your home in Spain or Portugal would then need to become a holiday home. It doesn't stop you moving around the world and travelling a lot, but your base needs to be the UK. That's where you need to be registered for tax, and it's where you be ordinarily resident. So these are issues for expats to consider. You can look at them in more detail in our guide, how EU Brexit for expats will affect overseas property, business and pensions. Includes a section on healthcare. If you go along to our website at productpartnership.com, you'll be able to download a copy and get yourself a copy. So go along there and do that, and leave comments and observations, or contact us and see how we can help you and guide you to make the best decisions for living and working abroad, for your healthcare, for you and your family after EU Brexit. Thank you very much.